What is going on, everybody? It is Eternal. It has been a little while since I made a video, and it's been a little while since I made a guide as well. So this is going to be a guide, and it's going to be for Coldheart. Someone dropped a comment and was asking how I got so much damage in Coldheart. This video is going to tell you how you can get your Coldheart hitting like an absolute fright train. So she's a Dark Elf, and she's one of the rares. She's a void, so she's a little bit tricky to pick up, but you will eventually pick her up. It does happen, and I know she's the ever elusive, there she is, Coldheart. So I'm going to go over her abilities, and then I'll go into her gearing, her masteries, where she's usable, and kind of some ways that you can have her geared up and ready to go. So her A1 is really fantastic. It's got the heal reduction on it. It attacks 4 times at random, so if it's one target, it will hit that target 4 times. Very good in Fire Knight. But otherwise, it's kind of a semi AoE almost, just because it's 4 times. If there's 5 targets, the chances are they're going to take, probably a hit each almost. This is her real AoE, Art of Pain. Now, you're not worrying too much about the poison. However, if the heal reduction is placed, you can place the poison. This can hit pretty hard. It drops a decreased accuracy on there potentially, but it's mainly for the AoE damage. I use this personally, so Heartseeker. This is her really, this is the ability she's known for. It's an enemy max HP based attack, so the damage of this ability is factored off enemy max HP, attack, crit damage, and then any debuffs that are placed. Now if you look here, it attacks one enemy, decreases the target's turn meter, which is really important, and has an extra 30% chance of inflicting a crit. So it's got a built-in 30% crit, meaning you only need to get Coldheart to 70% crit for this ability, Heartseeker here, to effectively always crit. And damage increases according to max, enemy max HP, as we've discussed there. Now, the obvious place that this is really useful is actually Spider. So in terms of how I've got my Coldheart set up right now, I've gone for a moderate amount of attack, over 70% crit, so you've got that 71% there, so I'm going for the Heartseeker. And then you can aim for about 250 if you can, if you've got the gear, but I would say at least 200%. You're gonna, maybe even a little bit more for Spider, just because of the team that I've kind of got set up and the way I've been using it. Now with Coldheart, I would say the optimal pieces, if you can farm enough, it's going to be crit damage. You're going to get so much potential out of crit damage gear, but if you've got really well statted broken pieces, then they're going to be pretty good as a fill-in really. Now you're always going to go crit damage on her gloves. The 70%, you're just going to have to scrape and get as close as you can. Crit damage gloves, there's so much potential there. If you attack chest, if you find that your Coldheart's dying in places like Spider, or even Fire Knight, you could sub in a defense or maybe even a HP. I'd probably say HP because her defense is so low. Sub in a HP chest just to make her a little bit more tanky if you find that she's dying all the time, as long as the substats kind of, are what you're looking for. In terms of what substats you're actually looking for, so you want to get that crit to 70%, and then you want as much crit damage as you can, and a lot of attack and accuracy. Now the reason you want accuracy is actually so her Heartseeker, the turn meter decrease, will land. Now all turn meter decreases are based on accuracy. If you haven't got enough accuracy, it's not going to work. Same with things like debuff, extension, etc. You need accuracy. Boots Icon for speed, just because I needed to get her relatively fast for Spider, and kind of the dungeons as well. The faster you go, the more damage you do. Now you're looking for attack percent, crit damage, speed on your substats, crit rate, all that sort of stuff. Very offensive. She's kind of a glass cannon, so yeah, they're the sort of stats you're looking for. I have got a couple of pieces of speed gear here. Again, increase her speed. They roll relatively well. Crit damage. I've got crit rate, accuracy, speed. So they're all decent rolls. If you can get 6-star pieces, if you can farm Dragon 20, you're going to have a pretty easy time, hopefully, getting those stats that you need. So, you know, the higher speed rolls, the higher crit rolls, the higher attack percentage rolls. So they're really what you're looking for. So we've gone over the artifacts, the skills. Let's have a look at the masteries. Now, I've got her set up slightly different, and you can tweak this, okay? Now, let me move myself. Where am I? I have myself. Okay, I've gone for Helm Smasher. Now, it's a little bit different to what some people might do. I found that my damage was actually higher with Helm Smasher instead of Flawless Execution with that 20% crit. It's not quite as consistent, but with a 50% chance to ignore 25% of the target's defense, I'm just finding that she's hitting harder. She's hitting harder in Spider, she's hitting harder in dungeons. I mean, either of these are, you know, an option, but I do find that I personally prefer Helm Smasher. But it's really your call. You can try them out, see what you think. But Helm Smasher definitely works. But, you know, Flawless Execution works too. So I've gone for crit damage, a little bit of attack, and then just come down here. And then I've got potential for a cooldown Cycle of Violence. You can probably get this to proc a decent amount of the time. You're looking really at her AoE attack, dropping the cooldown on her Heartseeker in Spider. That's really where it's going to be, you know, really useful. I've gone for some more accuracy down here and a little bit of turn meter reduction, just more accuracy, just to try and make sure that I'm consistently landing the Heartseeker turn meter reduction on the Spider, as well as the Finite. So I use her in Finite and also in Spider, so they're the two places that I'd really look at using Coldheart. She's great in dungeons. Maybe not so much Ice Golem where you take a lot of damage, but the others certainly. Okay, so I've had a little look at, you know, gear, masteries, all of that stuff. So you've got an idea of how you can gear her up. Like I said, the crit damage and also the Savage. Savage can be really good in her as well because you get that 25% ignore defense. So I'd say Savage, crit, damage, and Cruel are the three sets I'd really be looking to run on her, as well as potentially speed, all pretty good. I probably wouldn't bother running an accuracy set on her. Probably wouldn't run a crit rate unless that's all you can get to work, but realistically you're not going to be farming Ice Golem as much, and you'll probably be farming Fire Knight and Dragon a little bit more. So I would imagine that speed and the Savage and crit damage are going to be more accessible for most people. I've talked about where I use her. So I use her, she's in one of my Spider teams. I use her in my Finite team. This is my current Finite team. I'll show you. So I run 2 Cold Hearts, Wall. I run a full Void team. It's pretty nuts, actually, now that I think about it. So I've got somebody doing an AoE decreased defense here. You can sub in other people for that. I've got a Revive here. Revive is really strong, very useful on Finite. Warlord with a debuff block. Really nice, actually, on the Finite. He's also got a turn meter reduction which can come in, but Coldheart is using the blocking the heal of the Finite and also dropping that turn meter. So I'll do a quick run here. I'll just whack it on auto and I'll jump to the boss, but I don't want to, you know, take too long. I think the runs probably take somewhere between 3 and I think 4 minutes on average, so they're not crazy fast, but you'll see the damage that if you look here, Coldheart is hitting pretty hard. The Heartseeker, obviously. So I'll let this run through. I'm going to jump to the boss though, so I don't want to bore you too much. And then we can just have a little look at how the Coldheart kind of works when it comes to the boss and auto. Okay, we're at the boss, kind of just whacking away here. The multi-hit from Coldheart is really good. Unfortunately, didn't get the turn meter reduction there at the Coldheart, which can be really, really clutch. So basically, this strategy is just a kind of Arbiter will bring the Coldhearts back. There's a bit of a shield put on here by Warlord. Yeah, so here we go. It's nothing too exciting. The strategy works, but Coldheart is really, really useful to see. Turn meter reduction there. Unfortunately, the decreased defense was not on, so damage wasn't optimal. But the idea is you kind of keep the boss in check with turn meter reduction. You can even have slows and stuff like that on there. That was a really strong hit, so this run might actually be a little bit faster. But yeah, you can see the kind of general strategy behind it. Finite won't heal because the Coldhearts are suppressing that. They do a lot of damage. Yeah, 2 minutes 45, so the boss is down. It's pretty straightforward, really. And yeah, some gear to sell. So that is Finite. She's really strong there, and you know the runs can be pretty fast. You're obviously going to have to adjust your team. This is just a Coldheart guide, not a team guide. So we'll jump into Spider next. I might have to rejig my team. Yep. So you can use Coldheart in a variety of different ways. You can use her as the main damage dealer or turn meter reducer or kind of whatever you want. So this team is a bit of a mixture. I'll show both teams. So this is the, you know, the kind of using Frank to slowly whittle through the boss. I think this is just my auto team. This is a 100% success rate. I'll just pop it on, put my waffle in and just get into it. But this team relies on a lot of turn meter reduction and shields. So we've got the AoE decrease defense and weaken there. We've got Coldheart mainly doing turn meter reduction, but doing a chunk of damage as well. We've got an AoE HP burn from Venus. It's just got everything. It's a great spider team. It's really, you know, it's 100%. I don't have to think about it. I can go away and farm 100 runs if I want, and it's all good. But Coldheart in this scenario is doing a lot of turn meter reduction as well as AoE damage to the spiderlings. Now, I think she gets focused down here because she's the weakest. You can see the poisons are landing on her here. But that's okay. Honestly, once you if you get Miscreated Monster, he just makes Spider a joke. It makes it so much easier. Tyrell as well. He's really, really good for this boss, this encounter. This is a control sort of team. So the focus here is to control the Spider and just kind of, you know, like she healed there, but it doesn't even matter because the damage is just it's not even relevant. So that's fine. So this is a slower approach. Spider is notoriously the one where people struggle a lot. Venus, kind of the MVP there really, but Coldheart obviously doing a considerable amount of damage. Now, if I were to edit this team and turn it into something that you might be used to seeing, which would be, thinking about it, this might not work because I don't know what the gear's like on all of these, but I'll give it a go. So the idea with this strategy is, if they're speed tuned, I have to find out if the speed is tuned correctly. What you do is you have your debuffer go first, then you'll have your damage dealers go. Coldheart will use the AoE. So there's the speed slightly off there. You saw Roshkar go before that Coldheart, but it looks like this run should probably go okay. And then the three Coldhearts will Heartseeker, Heartseeker, and then Heartseeker. The weaken didn't actually land on the boss, so the damage is going to be lower here. You do get the general idea. Don't think I got the turn meter reduction there. No. So this team is not a 100% success rate team. You can see I'm relying quite heavily on Venus's AoE HP burns. So my Coldhearts actually don't have enough crit damage to make this work without Venus. But you can see it worked, but I was relying on Venus a lot there, who comes in as like two Coldhearts almost. So the idea is that you get a lot of crit damage and you get your Coldhearts hitting hard. But it's a little, like I said, that's not 100% success rate for me, so I tend to go for the other team. It takes a bit longer, but you know, I can just leave it on auto and I don't have to worry. My Dragon team, looking very, very similar to the Finite team. Double Coldheart, Venus, Arbiter, but I've got Sinesha in there instead of Warlord. Now, that fifth spot, you can kind of sub pretty much anybody in, and it should work. Like, I could throw Warlord in there, it would work, it'd just be a bit slower. Coldheart is really good here. She does a lot of damage on these waves, and she also uses her Heartseeker on the boss, which does a ton of damage. So, yeah, Coldheart is great in Dragon, Finite, and Spider. Clan boss early on, she's, to be honest, there's better options that I would never recommend her. When I first started, a lot of people recommended Coldheart for clan boss early on. I did go for that. Don't fall into the trap that I did of building your Coldheart early because she's so squishy. You need a team around her to support her. She can deal a lot of damage, but you know, if she just dies, what's the point? So that is really the weakness of Coldheart, is that she is so squishy. So you'll have to, for Spider, get your speeds right. The faster the better, but the rule is that you need to go twice before the Spider to land the turn meter reduction. So you saw on auto, she would use her AoE first and then Heartseeker. So you need to bear things like that in mind. Dragon, just go as fast as possible, loads of damage, make sure you're hitting that 70% crit. Like, look at the damage there, huge. I'm not going to show her in Clan Boss, it's not where I wouldn't use her there, I wouldn't recommend it. There are so many better options for damage. You know, your Poisoners, your Frozen Banshees, all sorts of, you know, just damage-wise, there's so many more options now than there was a year ago. So, you know, 129, respectable, not my best, but that's fine. So, she's obviously usable on all of these as well. They're not really, don't really need to talk about these. Yeah, so really, I would say these 3 dungeons where she really shines. She does shine. Endgame, I'm using them. I'm using her. All 3 of these dungeons, I'm still using her now. So at least 1 Coldheart. I'd probably say 2. 2 Coldhearts will get you really far in these 2 dungeons, just for those speed runs and things like that. Earlier on, it might be a little bit more challenging. I think I have covered everything relating to Coldheart. So we've gone over her stats, gone over her, you know, her gear, what can be used. So generally, I'm going for attack percent here, crit damage here, speed on the boots, and then, you know, I could definitely improve this, but speed, crit damage, accuracy. I could go a little bit higher on here, maybe even 200 for the spider and finite. But generally, this works pretty well for me. I think this one's quite fast. So 203, so she's decently sped. But yeah, that's kind of it. Just crit damage really boosts to damage. Attack does as well, but crit damage and crit, you'll see a lot of improvement in her damage there. Again, Masteries, Helm Smasher, I've found really great. You can go for Flawless Execution for that 20% crit damage. It's up to you, see what you think. Anyway, that is my hopefully short-ish Coldheart guide. Any questions, drop them below. If you're using her differently, you've had success somewhere, I'd love to hear. I haven't really tried her in Ice Golem just because she dies a lot. So realistically, I'm not going to use her there. She's usable in Faction Wars as well. I don't think today is Dark Elf. Nope. But she's usable in Faction Wars. She does, you know, just for damage really. But yeah, so she's a really cool rare character. I wouldn't tunnel vision her early on, you know, it's like your second 60 or anything like that. So just try and build your Clan Boss team up and stuff like that. Anyway, I hope you're all keeping safe. I hope you're all well. And I'll see you in the next one.